Hello everybody and welcome to Tiger Tales One Shot, a place you'll find stories and fan fictions told in one short stories, written and read to you by your host, me, Tai Tiger. Today we're diving into Task Force Hojo. Task Force Hojo is a multiversal team of Power Rangers who deal with protecting the multiverse. But each character, of course, has a backstory. So here on this channel we'll be exploring each of the team members in their own one-off storylines. Here we have K-Ram, the clone of Mark the Red Cornish Ranger, and how he came to be. So, let's dive in. Power Rangers, the Crimson Cornish Clone. The Earth was lost to the Machine Empire. The machines took over the planet, and some members of the human race did manage to escape and set up shop on a close-by habitable moon that had oxygen and gravity very similar to Earth. Several years passed, and the colony set up a cloning facility to clone the DNA of certain Rangers that they had access to. They also had access to the morphing grid and tried to clone the Power Rangers best they could. They could only get the DNA of some of the clones and managed to successfully clone 5 Rangers. Rocky, the Blue Zeo Ranger, Danny, the Black Wild Force Ranger, Mike, the Green Samurai Ranger, Kendall, the Purple Dino Charge Ranger, and Mark, the Red Cornish Ranger. The clone of Mark was the first one to learn to speak and stand, and he picked up on listening and learning very quickly. The head of the project, Dr. Bailey, walked up to the clone and he was dubbed K-Ram. Mark, spelled backwards. "Hello, K-Ram. How are you today?" Dr. Bailey asked. "Good. Thank you, Doctor," K-Ram replied. "Let's start training, shall we?" The doctor asked him with a small smile. K-Ram nodded and followed the doctor to the training room. There he was handed the clone of the Power Morpher. "Now remember, we built it backwards. The only way that we could have it made and make it work for you, someone suitable as a clone, without killing them. So please be careful," Dr. Bailey said. "Okay, Doc," K-Ram nodded. Then K-Ram held out the morpher. "Colonel Besficken!" K-Ram barked. The morpher popped open and in a flash of crimson light, nothing happened. He stood there the same as he was exactly a couple seconds before. "Sorry," K-Ram said with no facial expression, handing the doctor the morpher. No, K-Ram, it's fine. Let's just focus on your fighting skills for a moment," Bailey suggested. K-Ram nodded, then he started fighting the holograms that were projected from the walls, when suddenly Ken and Cole walked in, the clones of Kendall and Rocky. They walked up to K-Ram. Well, look who's trying to be the big bad Cornish Ranger," Cole laughed. Ken let out a snort. "You two play nice, you're on the same team," Dr. Bailey told them. Then he left the room to let the other 3 train. Ken started fighting one of the holograms. She ducked as the hologram swung for her. She then blocked an incoming attack and she kneed the figure in the stomach, then punched it across the head. Then she turned around to face the other one. She blocked an incoming attack, grabbed the opponent's wrist, kicked it in the back of the legs, then it fell to its knees. She then wrapped her leg around the figure's head, pulled it to the floor and stomped on its head. Cole ran up to the holograms. He kicked off the wall and used the momentum to kick the figure in the head. He spun around and kicked the figure again. Then he pushed it against the wall and jabbed it several times in the chest before striking it with a powerful blow. Then the hologram stumbled to its feet. K-Ram shoulder bashed a hologram, then placed his grip on the hologram's head, then he brought it down to knee it in the face, then he spun around and kicked it in the stomach, then he turned his attention on his next opponent. He ran up to it, ran up its body, launched himself into the air, he spun around and slammed his fist into the hologram as he landed on top of it. All the holograms dissipated, and the 3 of them grouped up. "Nice going, Red," Ken said with a slight grin. K-Ram then walked away and headed for the canteen. There he found Dan and Mick, the clones of Danny and Mike, sat there having lunch. K-Ram joined them and they welcomed him to sit with them, and K-Ram sat down. "How did training go, K-Man?" Dan asked. "It didn't work, but combat training's completed, so," K-Ram said with a shrug. "Good on you, man. You'll get the morphine down soon enough," Dan said with a nod. "Everyone works differently," Mick started. Then Dr. Bailey came walking up to them. "I need you guys in the briefing room in 2 minutes. Ken and Cole are already on their way," Dr. Bailey told them. Then he stormed away. K-Ram, Dan and Mick all climbed out of their chairs and followed Dr. Bailey. All of them piled into the briefing room where the map of the moon they resided on was planted on the wall. Alright team, today I give you your first mission. A pod of some kind has crash landed nearby. We can teleport you closer to it, but I want you guys to sort it out. Then, you guys will morph for precaution, and give us a full detailed report. If there is anything living, you bring it in alive. If it's a threat, handle it, Dr. Bailey explained. But, K-Ram started, but the doctor raised his hands to silence him. Once you all morph, your morpher will piggyback off your teammates, and you'll be fine, K-Ram, the doctor told him. The team were given watches and prepared themselves for their mission. Cole was voted as team leader, then they all teleported to the location. They all stood there on the moon's ground, taking in the view. The sky was black and had two small lights in the sky. One was the sun, but it was too far away, and it didn't light up the whole sky. The ground was a dark orange, and the ground was rather rocky, like any other moon. There was also a large plant spotted around, powerful plants with genetics that made up the trees, which allowed it to breathe oxygen, but in a different way that Earth's trees weren't. The trees were planted across the surface. The team were all approached the pod. It looked like an escape capsule. The door was open and the team found it empty. Now what? K-Ram asked. Someone was here, surely. Maybe they're around here somewhere, Ken suggested. Suddenly, a noise came from behind the rock. They all stood there watching it, concerned and confused. Then a machine came from the rock holding a blaster. It was humanoid, green and silver, with two horned crests on its forehead. Now what? Damn Bart. We should morph, Ken growled. Prime directive to destroy humans. Must find Prime conduit first. Sending signal to Earth, but Earth is unable to respond, the machine said. It's from Earth? K-Ram blurted. We should have morphed already. We need to take it out, then report back. The machine empire could be upon us, Core ordered. Then all five of them revealed their morphers. Core placed both morphers together as he clipped them into each other. Zero Ranger 3, blue, he called out, and in a flash of light, he morphed into the Aqua Zeo Ranger. Dan opened his phone morpher, pressed the center button, and held it to his ear. Wild access, Dan called out, and morphed into the Obsidian Wild Force Ranger. Ken placed our dino charger into their blaster, spun the chamber, then aimed the blaster in the air and pulled the trigger. Unleash the power, she called out, and morphed into the Lavender Dino Charge Ranger. Mick held out his samurai morpher and wrote his symbol, then flicked his wrist. Go, go, samurai, he called out, and morphed into the Hunter Green Samurai Ranger. K-Ram held out his morpher. Colonel Bisficken, he called out, and morphed into Crimson Cornish Ranger. The five Rangers stood there and dropped into their fighting stances. The Zeo Ranger ran at the machine and punched it in the chest. The machine then kicked the Ranger and blasted him, making him fall to the ground. The Lavender Ranger ran at the machine, pulling the trigger on her dino blaster, hitting the machine several times before it shot back, hitting the Ranger dead on. The Obsidian Wild Force Ranger slammed into the machine and lifted it into the air, he throwing it over his head, and it crashed on the floor. The machine stood and aimed its wrist, and it shot a yellow snare rope, which caught the Obsidian Ranger. He dropped to the floor, trying to escape it, but it was getting electrocuted at the same time. The Hunter Green Ranger ran in with his sword and slashed the machine. The blade extended from the machine's wrist, and it slashed back. The Samurai Ranger was thrown off his feet as sparks extended off his suit. The Crimson Cornish Ranger stood there and summoned the Sword of Depression, the mirror sword of the Sword of Darkness, a complete clone of the blade. He ran at the machine, aimed his blaster, and shot at the Crimson Ranger. He rolled forward, dodging the attacks. Then the machine aimed its wrist and shot another snare rope. The Crimson Ranger swung a sword and sliced the rope completely. Then the machine swung for the Ranger and blocked the attack, then pushed the machine back. He then tripped the machine over and stabbed the sword into the machine's chest. The machine started sparking and his body started wriggling uncontrollably. Sending SOS to Earth. Unable to send SOS to Earth. Earth unable to respond, the machine said. What does that mean? The Crimson Ranger asked. Earth is unable to respond. Earth no longer stands since date 0308211110. Earth is destroyed. Empire gone. Following built-in protocols, the machine explained. Wait, did you say Earth is destroyed? The Zeo Ranger asked as the other Rangers all climbed to their feet and circled around the dying machine. Yes, humans. Destroyed. It. Colony found 12 clicks away, the machine told them. All the Rangers demorphed. Guess we were made to defend the Earth. To save it. To get it back. But if they were destroyed it, why are we still stood here? K-Ram asked. That's a good question. Core growled, his face dressed in rage. Then he slammed his watch and teleported away. Why are you here? Ken asked the machine. To find answers. New home. Find new planet. The machine replied. Why did you leave Earth? Dan asked. 5 minutes before attack, I was sent out as the machine empire's last hope. Power battery failing. Power at 2%. Entering rest mode to preserve energy. The machine muttered, then it powered down. The team all stood there rather confused. They had a lot of questions. The answers the machine gave them opened up many doors to more questions. Then the communicators started beeping, and they answered. Team! Core's gone mad! Attacking Hull! Bailey! One of the engineers said, but the signal was lost. It seems like Core took this news rather personally. We may have to be stopped, K-Ram told them. They all agreed and hit their communicators and teleported away. They teleported into the base to find it in complete ruins. Everything was destroyed. Consoles on fire, screens were broken, people laid in pain, or worse, dead. Ken checked on one of the scientists, but was met with no pulse. We have to find Core. This is too much of a reaction, Ken muttered. Then all four of them ran off and headed deeper into the base. They found the training room and found the Aqua Blue Zeo Ranger holding Dr. Bailey by the throat, lifting him off the ground. Core, stop this! This is madness! K-Ram barked. No! Our mission has been mute the entire time we've been made. Our entire existence has no reasoning! The Zeo Ranger roared with rage. I am sure it has better meaning than that, right, Doc? K-Ram yelled out. I'm afraid it's much worse than that, the doctor said, gasping to inhale oxygen. What does that mean? K-Ram asked. It doesn't matter, the Zeo Ranger growled. He threw the doctor across the room, he slammed against the wall and fell to the floor. You need to stop destroying everything. Only makes us as bad as the Machine Empire right now, K-Ram told him. Then the Aqua Ranger turned on his own teammates. They all morphed again and faced the Rogue Ranger. The Zeo Ranger ran at the team. He jumped up and kicked the Lavender Ranger in the chest and then kneed the Ranger in the stomach. He grabbed the Ranger by the head and pulled as hard as he could and snapped the Ranger's neck. The Lavender Ranger dropped to the floor. She demorphed and Cade laid there dead. The Obsidian Ranger jumped up and swung his axe down in rage. A blood-curdling battle cry escaped him as his axe hit the ground centimeters away from the Zeo Ranger. The Zeo Ranger quickly grabbed the Obsidian Ranger's head and slammed it on the handle of the axe. He then pulled the axe from the ground and slashed the Obsidian Ranger as hard as he could with a powerful slash, and he dropped to the ground and demorphed. He turned to the Hunter Green Ranger, who started writing with his samuraiser and started writing a symbol, but the Aqua Blue Ranger bolted forward and kicked the morpher out of his hands, then booted him in the chest, sending him flying back. The Crimson Ranger summoned his sword and ran at the Aqua Ranger. He slashed the Ranger several times before tripping him over. The Aqua Zeo Ranger jumped to his feet, then he threw his fist, but the Crimson Ranger clenched his sword, and the dark energy emanating off of it started to increase. The Crimson Ranger jumped up and swung his sword. He landed, and the sword struck the Aqua Ranger. The Aqua Ranger dropped to the floor and demorphed. Then the Crimson Ranger demorphed, and K-Ram ran over to the doctor to pull him to his feet. Thank you, K-Ram. It always happens. It's pretty much always Core, sadly, Dr. Bailey told him. What do you mean, always usually Core? K-Ram asked. Well, normally when I replay the experiment, I do not usually let loose all my assistants. Luckily, their cloning process is rather quick, the doctor explained. Hang on. Everyone here is a clone? K-Ram asked. Oh, yes, dear boy, the doctor nodded. What about the Earth and the human race? K-Ram blurted. His mind started racing. Earth was destroyed many, many years ago. The last few humans destroyed it with a missile 13 times stronger than the strongest nuke. We rid Earth and its Machine Empire rulers. A few of them escaped, and they keep sending scouts, which is why you guys just destroyed. I was hoping it wouldn't relay the information to you, but I digress. Luckily, you're always around, K-Ram. I know you'll be here next time as well, the doctor told him, placing his hand on K-Ram's face. What do you mean next time? Where are the other humans? K-Ram barked, pushing the doctor back. My dear boy, I am the last man of Earth. I had to take the precautions to reject the cloning process, to protect the next step of the human race, the doctor snapped. So we were made for no reason, living under false prefect, that we would save a race in a planet that does not exist? K-Ram roared. Maybe yes, but I've restarted so many times, I can't really make sure of it. I'll make sure I get it right, though. This is only the 4th try, and it's miles ahead than the last one. The last one will be perfect, and I hate to think you won't remember. Dr. Bailey told him. What do you mean I won't remember? K-Ram asked. Well, you see, when I was a young boy, I was saved by the Red Cornish Ranger. Time jumped 40 years, and I'm being shipped to the moon. I have Mark's DNA, so I cloned him and made you. I raised you. And then when everything happened, I decided I would not kill you, but instead reset everything I'd done. I'll lose 10% of the DNA every single time, but instead of cloning them, I'll have you. You, my boy, are perfect. And when I wipe your memories, you'll be perfect and mine all over again. The doctor sighed. Screw you, K-Ram barked. He then summoned his sword and started floating. He morphed without his morpher. Rage fueled him and pain flowed through his veins. The Crimson Cornish Ranger raised the sword high in the sky. The sword burst with pure black evil energy. Then it shimmered to blue, and a bright light burst forth from the sword. It struck the ceiling, making it crack, and the building started falling apart. Please, K-Ram, I understand you're upset, but I promise I won't reset your memory. We need to preserve the human race. You can help make the next one, I promise. Dr. Bailey yelled as the force rippled off the sword, started pushing him back. There won't be a next time, the Crimson Cornish Ranger screamed. Then he swung his sword. The entire building was cut in half. Everyone was crushed under the entire base as it fell apart and burnt to rubble. Several hours later, K-Ram sat down a rock. The base he knew his entire existence was nothing but rubble that laid behind him. He sat there with a sigh. His team, his creator, and everybody he knew was now dead. The mission that he was made to complete was nothing but folklore, and it was made to keep his mind in the fog. K-Ram sat there, lost and confused. Suddenly, a portal opened, and 2 girls and a guy walked out. Hello, K-Ram. My name is Aisha, the Purple Ultra Ranger from Universe 19. This is Minnie, the Pink Cornish Ranger, and Chad, the Wakanda Ranger. The dark-skinned woman said. How do you know my name? K-Ram asked. He jumped off his rock and held his fists. Whoa, hey, easy. My name is Minnie. I'm a Cornish Ranger just like you, the little girl told him, revealing her Cornish morpher. Are you a clone of Mark as well? K-Ram asked her. No, my version of Mark is my father. Well, one of them. I am his replacement in my universe, and I'm a part of something better. Aisha has a team of rangers that helps the multiverse, and we help universes who have no help. We think you should join us, Minnie asked. Why? I can't leave here, K-Ram sighed. Dude, there is nothing here. You are completely alone, man. Chad chuckled, Aisha nudging him in the chest. What Chad means to say is, you are a very strong ranger, and everyone needs a friend. You can help people and do good with us, Aisha told him. K-Ram looked at the destruction that laid in front of him, which he caused. He took a deep breath and looked at the 3 rangers, then nodded. Count me in, K-Ram muttered. Then Aisha led him through a portal. There he entered a white and silver base sat in a purple void, a void that sat between universes. Welcome to Task Force Hoja, Aisha said with a grin. K-Ram stood there with awe. A small grin appeared on his face. He felt a sudden calmness soothe his unknowing of the future. He stood there ready to be a ranger and a savior like he was made to be. Thank you everybody for listening to this video and checking out the stories. Of course, there are plenty more where that came from. I encourage you to check out the rest of this channel where you'll find more storylines for you to delve into. But there's even more than that. If you check out the description down below, you will find a whole array of different Tiger Tales channels. Each Tiger Tales channel is made for a specific purpose and hosts a whole array of different types of storylines. So I encourage you to check out the other Tiger Tales channels and delve into a massive amount of storytelling by myself and the Tiger Tales partners. If you have enjoyed yourself today, then please subscribe to the channel as it does show your support. Now, of course, the whole reason why I'm doing this is because I'm passionate about story writing and storytelling. And, of course, you should dive into what you are passionate about as well. So, I shall end this video with Roll with Passion.
That before we can...
Don't touch my Pringles.
Bye!